Greetings, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and I want to welcome you to my new Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways podcast series. We have been overwhelmed with the responses that people have shared from listening to these messages on my SiriusXM show over the years. Those listeners, and they're sharing my show with their network, telling people about it, telling their family members, their friends, and their coworkers about this show and the impact it's having on their lives. That's the main reason that this show is now #1 for self-help in America, and I'm very grateful. Yet, we realize that many people do not have satellite radio and therefore could not experience for themselves the message. They could not get it for themselves. So we are now sharing these messages with everyone via this new podcast. Enjoy it and share it with your network. And let's help even more people to do more, be more, and achieve more. Tell everybody so that they can live a Wealthy Ways life as well. Welcome to the new Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways podcast. And remember, your best is yet to come.
Named one of the outstanding 5 speakers in the world.
Inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame.
Award-winning singer.
Best-selling author.
And now, here's Willie Jolley.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley, and yes, you have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it, forced upon you. You can't refuse it. You didn't seek it. You didn't choose it, but it's up to you to use it. You must suffer if you lose it. Give account if you abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but your eternities all wrapped up in it. Well, I am glad to be on the air so I can have time with you and to share some ideas that hopefully will help you do more, be more, achieve more, both in your personal and your professional endeavors, and will help you to have a greater, better quality of life. Because this show is really about wealthy ways, helping you be healthy, wealthy, and wise in every part of your life. And I'm grateful for your support and for your listening. And I'm very much over the top grateful for all your emails and notes and Facebook messages saying how this show has changed your life. Please keep sending them to me and letting me know. Well, you know, I start every show the same way. I start with God's Minute, which is a minute that was written by Dr. Benjamin Mays, who was Martin Luther King Jr.'s mentor at Morehouse College and inspired him and has inspired me through those pieces that he's written. And then I also start after God's Minute is taking a moment to give God glory, to thank him for life and strength and health, thanking him for just the blessings that he has brought my way. No, not just the speaking and the books and the television and the radio. No, the blessings, the real blessings are life and strength and health and friends. Oh, that's the blessing, man. And so if you're not taking advantage of that blessing and taking care of your health, then all the others are secondary. So I give God glory, and I know everybody doesn't believe like I believe, but I know who is blessing me, who had put the bread on the table and who is buttering it, and I give him glory. Now, that said, I want to thank you all for your support of our new marriage book, Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last. As you know, Dee and I have been married for over 33 years, haven't had an argument in 30 years, and the book is just having such a profound impact. We had a couple who called me some months ago, and just it was the wife who called and said, "I'm out. I'm done. I'm filing for divorce." And I said, "No. Before you do that, do me a favor. Just do me one favor. Read the book together. Get 2 copies of the book and read the book together. I'll send them to you today. Read the books together. Right at the end of each chapter, there are little points. I want you to write your notes through the chapter and talk about the things that you experience, you learn, whatever in that chapter. And then let's talk again." Well, she called me not long ago and said, "I'm in D.C." I said, "You're in D.C.?" "Yeah, I'm in D.C. My husband and I are celebrating our anniversary, and we are so happy, and we're so grateful. We just want to call and say hi. I am so grateful for you sending those books our way." And I said, "Thank you for doing that." And she said, "You know, there were little things that had gotten off track that became big over time." And so, folks, that's why we want to encourage you, jollymarriage.com. Just go, jollymarriage.com, and get the free chapter on how to disagree without being disagreeable, and then an excerpt from the live audio that we did at Grace Church, as well as some of the Monday night messages that we have done on Facebook. Monday nights at 9 o'clock, we do Happily Married Mondays with the Jollies, so we can answer your questions on what's struggling or what struggles you have in your life. So go to jollymarriage.com and get that. All right, my guest today is somebody, I'm so grateful. I'm so excited about this interview because this is a superstar. That's the best way I can say it. An icon in American history now for what he has done. Many of you, if you've ever heard me speak live, you will often see me talk about a time I had in my business, in my career, working with a small little company you might have heard of called Ford Motor Company. Some of y'all heard that company. And I talk about how Ford was on the brink of bankruptcy in 2006. They brought in a new CEO named Alan Mulally. He brought him from Boeing, and he came in and brought new ideas, a new spirit, a new energy, and he transformed Ford, and to a point where they were able to reject the government bailout and go from losing billions of dollars to making millions and millions and billions monthly because of his efforts. And he has gone on become a friend of mine. Let me tell you, that's my guest, Alan Mulally. Yep, I've been trying for a long time, but he's finally able to find some time, and I'm grateful. He served as president, chief executive officer of the Ford Motor Company. He was from 2006 to 2014. He led Ford from brink of bankruptcy to comeback status to becoming the number one brand in the world. He was with Boeing Company as the president and CEO of Boeing Commercial Airplanes before Ford, and he turned that company around. He has been named one of the top 3 on Fortune's World's Greatest Leaders. He's one of the top 30 world's best CEOs by Barron's Magazine. He's been named one of the world's most influential people by Time Magazine, and Chief Executive of the Year by Chief Executive Magazine. He is not just a leader, but he's a good man. That's what I just love about this guy. He's a good man, a good husband, a good father, and a good friend. Ladies and gentlemen, honored to have on the show with me today the one and only Alan Mulally. Alan, how are you, my friend?
Willie, I got to record that introduction. I got to share it with my parents, my kids. It's fantastic.
Well, it is my pleasure. Man, what a joy to have you on the show with me. This is a dream come true, and I am so grateful. Well, I gave them the thumbnail sketch of who you are, what you've done, but tell us a little more about this guy, Alan Mulally, and where he came from and all the above.
Well, first of all, Willie, it's a pleasure to be with you again, and I'll always treasure our working together at Ford, not only to save Ford, but to create an exciting, viable Ford for the good of so many people in the United States and around our world. So, again, thank you so much, my friend.
Well, it was a joy. One of my highest pleasures in my life was working with Ford, as well as spending time with you in your office and learning so much from you. You don't know how much. And in my Attitude of Excellence book, the new Attitude of Excellence book, I talk about some of the things I learned from you. So I'm grateful for you, my friend.
You sure did. And I have read the transcript, and it is absolutely fabulous. It's going to be a tremendous contribution to so many people. So, Willie, with respect to your question, I grew up in Kansas, and we didn't have a lot of resources in our family, but we had a lot of love from our parents. And every morning when I was go to school, I always remember my mom sharing her thoughts about life and what's important and serving. And one day she'd say, well, the purpose of life is, what is the purpose of life, honey? And I'd say, well, the purpose of life is to love and be loved. And she would say, that's true, but also in that order. And the next day she would say, to serve is to really live. Thank you, Mom. Then next day she'd say, it's nice to be important, honey, but it's more important to be nice. Great. And then one of the ones I just absolutely loved was by working together with others, you can make the most positive contribution to the most people. And it's all about lifelong learning and continuous improvement. Respect everyone. We're all creatures of God. We're worthy to be loved. And develop an integrated life to deliver your life's work. And so I grew up with that foundation, Willie. And like all kids, I wanted to, maybe get a pair of Levi jeans and some Norwegian loafers and maybe a car and go to college someday. And so with my parents' encouragement and these learnings, I started serving. I had my TV guide route, and then I had my paper route, and it was always about serving the customers. And I wanted to know what they thought, how I could improve, how I could do a better job to make their life easier and more worthwhile. And then I worked at the grocery store, the Dillon's grocery store, as a bagger, and then a checker, and people were actually giving me tips, and I would package their groceries in plastic bags when it snowed, and then I was a ranch hand and construction, and I started learning aerospace engineering at the University of Kansas, and I worked at Beechcraft and Cessna and Boeing, and all the time it was always about serving. And then and then I found my first love in being an airplane designer at Boeing, as you mentioned, and I had the honor to serve on every Boeing airplane, from the 707 through the 787.
Wow.
And if you look at all the seats that are flying today, 70% of all the seats that are flying in the world today are in Boeing airplanes. And so Boeing really was the first internet because it got people and ideas together. And as you and we all know, when you get to know people around the world, we find out that we have more in common than we're different, and
Yep.
we can choose to work together for the greater good. And then from 37 years at Boeing, I got a call from
37
Bill
years
Ford,
at Boeing?
as you well know. And so,
Wow,
then that's how I got
37 years. Wow.
That's how I got to Ford, and that's how I met you, and we went to work with our principles and practices to not only save Ford, but to create an exciting, viable, and profitably growing Ford for everybody.
So in reality, your mentors were your parents.
Absolutely, absolutely. Some people, you would say, they brainwash me, which is okay with me because I love those principles and practices.
Man, those are great principles that your parents instilled in you, and I love that, to love and then to be loved, and it's not just to have them; it's also the sequence.
Absolutely, she would remind me of that frequently.
Oh, that's powerful. It's almost like something I have in the book, the Attitude of Excellence book, about I looked for the key to success for many years. I kept looking and I kept looking. What was that single key that was the key to open the door to success? And what I learned is no single key. There's a combination lock. And not only must you know the digits, but you must have them in the right sequence or it won't open. And so we see far too many people who will work on skill set before they work on mindset. And we must work on mindset, heart set, before we work on skill set. Now, they both are important, but you must put them in the right sequence. Well, I'm telling you, this is exciting. We've got a lot to share today, folks. I hope you're going to do me a favor, everybody. Pull out a pad, a pen, a piece of paper, iPhone, an iPad, whatever you take notes on, because we're going to get into the principles that Alan Mulally used at Boeing to turn Boeing around, and then he brought to Ford that turned Ford around. It were documented in a book called American Icon, and then he's going to share how you can turn your business around. These principles will translate in your business and your personal life and your family life. So look, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley, and for sure, your best is yet to come. We'll be right back.
Call me, yes. Oh, yes. If you need me, then call me. Say you need a friend who'll be there when you win. Let's stand right by your side if you lose. Someone you can call in the midnight hour.
Hi, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and if you're enjoying this information you're hearing on this podcast, I want to invite you to get even more great information on my new free gift page on my website. Go to wjspeaks.com and hit the All Access badge. On that page, you will find information and resources specifically designed to help you to have greater success. Free ebooks, music, all sorts of interesting and informational interviews for my XM show. I'm telling you, this is a great page. And why do I do it? Because I've learned that the more we give, the more we get. And the more we help other people to grow and go to the next level, the more we receive in our business. So we want to help you. Tell your friends about it. Go to Facebook and get my information. Go to my website, get my free resources, and get on wjspeaks.com and hit that All Access badge. It looks like a backstage pass. Click it. You'll get behind the scenes information to the special page to help you grow. All we want in return, all we ask is that you pass it on, because the more you give, the more you get. This is Dr. Willie Jolley. Have a great day. And we're back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley, and I have my special guest, the iconic CEO, thinker, brilliant, as I say on stage, one of the most brilliant people I have ever met. His name is Alan Mulally, and if you haven't read about him or heard about him, and you just Google him, you will see that he has been named one of the world's greatest leaders. And if you get a chance to see his program from Willow Creek Leadership Conference, it is spectacular, just spectacular. It'll make you laugh, but it will also make you realize how you can grow yourself. Well, Alan, we talked about the fact that your parents were your mentors. They taught you so much, and then you went into aerospace engineering, but you had to work your way up through through Boeing. Now let's talk a little bit about that. You didn't walk in on day one and say, "Hey, you're going to be the new CEO of Boeing." I mean, what was the process? What was the challenges? How did you go through that process?
Well, sure. It makes me smile to think about the answer to your question. So, with the principles and practices that I grew up with based on my parents' education and the church and the fact that they always worked. I mean, service always worked. I got great feedback, and I was into continuous improvement. I wanted to improve my service and lifelong learning, and so I arrived at Boeing, and I wanted to be the best airplane designer that I could be, and so I would do my assignments. I'd go back to my supervisor. What can I do to make it better? And one day they called me in and they said, "Alan, you're doing a great job, and we'd like you to be a supervisor." And I said, "That's great. And so what does a supervisor do?" And they said, "Well, we're going to assign some really smart engineers to you, and we'd like you to help them be the best engineers they can be." And so I thought that was great, and I thought I was supposed to make them in my image. And after my first employee, after he came to me with his thoughts and my continuous improvement suggestions, he said, "Alan, you just micromanage me, and I think you need to think about a bigger picture, how to help me relate to the airplane program itself, make sure I'm networking with the right people, I have the right tools." And it actually changed my life, Willie. And so I was asked to take on more and more responsibility. Then I was a program manager, and then I was actually the chief engineer for the cockpit design, the autopilot and the autothrottle for the 757 and the 767. And then they asked me to serve as a chief engineer for the creation of the 777 airplane. Probably most people think is the finest airplane in the world. It takes people point to point halfway around the world.
Right.
And so then they asked me to be the CEO of Boeing Commercial Airplanes, and I used the same principles and practices that I learned all along the way on how to help talented people, hundreds of thousands of talented people, work together to create these airplanes. And then when we bought McDonnell Douglas and Rockwell at the end of the Cold War, they asked me to integrate all these fabulous assets, the fighters and the satellites and the transport airplanes. And I had a chance to do that and support the Pentagon and support all of our wonderful young men and women and the war fighters. And then I thought I'd never leave Boeing. And then that's when I got a call from Bill Ford, which is the next chapter.
You know, now every time I think of that, okay, I think of this. You're in the catbird seat, as they would say, the sweet seat at Boeing. You're in Seattle, Washington, overlooking probably Puget Sound. You're eating salmon every day, okay? You're living this wonderful life, and Boeing's just cooking. And you get a call from Bill Ford, who is the grandson of Henry Ford, and this is of the company Ford Motors, and he says, I want to talk to you about coming to Ford. I can't imagine that conversation. I just can't. How does he? I mean, you're such a sweet spot. What did he say when he called you?
Well, it was. I knew it when he called Willie. I knew I was in trouble because when he was describing the situation and how he wanted me to join him as a CEO of Ford and help save Ford, I didn't say no right away, and I was so interested in what he had to say. And Bill is such a neat leader, and you know he's the titular head of the Ford family, and 115 years of innovation and safe and efficient transportation. And he told me all about the situation. They had become a house of brands. They had purchased Aston Martin and Jaguar and Land Rover and Volvo and Mazda, and they'd become a fast follower in technology. And they were losing market share, and their cost structure was not supportive of them making cars and trucks in the United States. And they were losing money on every brand and every vehicle. Matter of fact, Willie, he shared with me that the forecast, this was in September, the forecast for profits for the entire year was going to be a $17 billion loss.
That was the forecast for profits.
Exactly. And 4 months later, we achieved it. So this wasn't a forecast accuracy issue. So to answer your question, I initially told Bill that I was going to stay at Boeing. I had one more airplane I wanted to help redesign. That's a replacement for the 737. And I talked to him, and I shared with him I was going to stay. And Nikki, my wife of 48 years, and 3 of our 5 kids were listening to me regret on his offer. And I hung up the phone, and he said he was such a gentleman. He said, well, if you change your mind, please let me know. I really would like you to come, and I really need you. And I hung up the phone, and Nikki and the 3 kids walked in, Willie, and they said, so we're going to Ford, aren't we, Dad? So I said, because they could hear it in my voice.
Right.
I said, yep, we're going to Ford. And like all of us, as we go through our lives, we're always going to have opportunities and decisions to make and what's for the greater good for ourselves, our family. And so you look at it and analyze it from every direction. And I decided right there that I was being asked to serve a second American and global icon in Ford, like you mentioned. And really, Boeing and Ford are the arsenal of democracy, and they're the reason that we are free as a country today. So I really felt like I was being asked to serve, and I called Bill back.
Let me take a moment there to point out something you said. I want to make sure we don't miss this, and I want y'all to listen to this, folks. He said he was being called to serve. Now, I don't want y'all to think anything other than exactly what he said. He was called not by Bill Ford, by a higher power to serve. Yep. America needed Ford to survive, yep, as well as America needed to see this comeback, America's comeback country. And we are often thrust into positions where we must serve and be be the person that we might not have known we were. We grow through that. Am I right, Alan?
Oh, absolutely. And, Willie, all I know from all of my experiences on all the airplane programs and at Ford were these working together principles and practices that you mentioned. And the key ones are people first. And that means love them up.
Wow.
Love up all the participants. These are human beings. They're talented. They want to work together, do something for the greater good, include everybody, come together around a compelling vision, a comprehensive strategy, and a relentless implementation plan to deliver it. And you've captured that over the years with Henry Ford's original quote of opening the highways to all mankind. Also, clear performance goals, having one plan, using facts and data. You can't manage a secret. One of the most important principles and practices is everyone knows the plan. Share it with everybody. Everyone knows the status. Everyone knows the areas need special attention.
Everyone?
Everyone.
All right, that's
everyone, all of your employees, all the suppliers, the bankers, the investors, the communities in which we operate, because only then can we all pull together to turn the red items to yellow to green. And then the behaviors. Propose a plan, positive, find a way attitude, respect each other, listen to each other, help each other, appreciate each other, keeping your emotional resilience and trust in the process. And the last one, Willie, have fun. Enjoy the journey and each other. Now, the corollary to that is never humor at another person's expense.
Say that one more time, because that's so, and I believe that's not just, say it again, and then I'll give you the rest of that. Go, say that one more time.
Have fun, enjoy the journey and each other, and no humor at another's expense. And the reason why that's important, Willie, is that we've all heard the jokes. We laugh to go along to get along, but it's never funny. And with respect to working together at Boeing or at Ford and doing these complicated, complex programs, we need the hearts and minds of everybody, but they also have to feel safe.
Right.
And if people don't feel safe, they're not going to be a victim, and they're not going to share with the real situation, especially if there's an issue that we all need to work on. So the most important thing is love them up and never humor at anybody else's expense.
So really, if you look at it, the number one thing you said, which was people first, and then have fun, they kind of drew back to each other. It's almost like a circle. I would see it in my mind that there's this never-ending circle. You start with people first. It goes all through the principles that you share. We're going to go back through those principles, and then it reconnects like a clasp with have fun and never at anybody else's expense, because that impacts their willingness to be open and honest and have open conversations, which is something that I assume, and you've been married for over 45 years, almost 50 years. So, yeah, so you know the same goes for marriage. Am I right?
Well, now you brought that up. So I tried to convince myself when we started convince Nikki, my wife, when we first started having children, that we needed to have a business plan review just like we do at Boeing. And she said, no, we're not going to have a business plan review. And so I said, what about a family meeting? And she said, well, yeah, that'd be good. Because, when you have 7 people in your household, you need to have a plan and agree on your vision and strategy and how are you going to work together and the behaviors.
Hold that thought 1 second. I'm going to take a quick station identification. I want to get the rest of this. We'll be right back. This is Dr. Willie Jolley. Hold on. Hi, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and for years I've told people that in order to have a greater life, it starts by having greater individual days. If you have a great day and you repeat that great day 7 times, you've had a great week. And you repeat that week 4 times, you've had a greater month. And then repeat that month 12 times, you've had a greater year, and you're on your way to a greater life. And it starts with that individual day. I recommend you start each day with something powerful. I call it the pure, the powerful, and the positive. Rather than starting your day with bad news, how many people got killed or how many children got snatched or how many fires there were, I recommend you start your day with something to inspire and empower and encourage you to make this day a great day. We're excited to announce the start of Jolley TV on my Facebook page. Go to Willie Jolley, Willie.Jolley on Facebook. Just go to Willie.Jolley on Facebook and get ready for a great day and a great life. Have a great day on purpose. And we're back. Dr. Willie Jolley. Alan, you were talking about convincing your bride, maybe we need to have some business.
Family meeting, a business plan review. And she said, well, we're not going to call it a business plan review, but we'll do a family meeting. And so every day after church, every Sunday after church, we come home and do our family meeting, and we pick up all the things in the house, get them back in the cubbies. We do the laundry together, sort all the stuff together, get our schedules out, review how we can help each other with taxi cab service or cheerleading, and then we go through the calendar, and so the kids always used to laugh about that as they got older. And I said, well, why did you come to it when you didn't want to do this when you sound like you didn't want to do it every week? And they said, well, you remember what the last item was on our family meeting, Dad? And I said, no, I don't. They said, you passed out the allowances.
well, that's good incentive.
Exactly. But the point is the same, is that we all want to be associated with something bigger than ourselves.
That's right.
Contribution. And
that's
so
right.
Coming together around that vision and a strategy for achieving it, and then every week getting together to identify the areas that need special attention and working on them together in a safe environment.
This is so good. This is such rich information. Folks, I want y'all all to hear. He has told us some principles that will help you in your business. But also the principles can translate and transfer over to your personal life, to your family life, to your children. And we want to grow successful, happy, healthy, vibrant children in vibrant homes. And part of that is the conversation, the communication, and the not making fun of each other that will, even, I've heard parents say so, little snide things. They think it's funny, but it's not really funny, just like Alan said. And the same is true in your business. So we don't make funny remarks in our business. We don't do it in our marriage. We don't ever. I heard a guy one day say, "This is my future ex-wife." I said, "Oh my God, how? That's not funny." And so, he thought it was a funny joke, but that's not funny, because you also have the self-fulfilling prophecy option that comes into play. Okay, so now I got so much stuff I could get on. We could talk about family and marriage and the person, but I want to talk about this. You learned about this working together, this journey, this leadership of working together, which was, to say the least, challenging when you went to Ford, because Ford was well known as dog eats dog. And so first, where did you really grasp this working together philosophy? I mean, really, really get it. And then how were you able to get Ford to embrace it?
Well, I really developed it over the years at Boeing on all these airplane programs, because as we all know, commercial airplanes are probably the most complicated vehicles in the world, and the safety requirements are the highest in the world when you're carrying 200 to 300 people halfway around the world. And so these principles and practices are what we use on the creation of all of these airplane programs, because we all need to know what the vision was, the strategy, the plan, the areas need special attention. And so these principles and practices are what it was on one piece of paper, and I took it to Ford when I decided to go. And I remember one thing that you always loved was in the first press conference, the press was all there, and they wanted to know who this person was from the outside, and did I know that Ford was in trouble. And one of the journalists actually said, "So, Ms. Mulally, what does it mean to us that you're here? And the automobile industry is very sophisticated and very complicated, and you don't know anything about it." And starting with the products themselves. And I said, well, I rubbed my chin, and I said, well, I sure agree with you. It is a complicated industry, and the products are complicated. I might point out that an average car or a truck has around 10,000 parts. And you think about the quality and the fuel efficiency and the safety and the connectivity and the systems engineering, very sophisticated cars and trucks. I might point out that the 777 airplane has 4 million parts, and it actually stays in the air. Really? The next day, 3-inch headlines in the Detroit News. I think we got the right guy.
They definitely got the right guy. And let me ask you one more question about that whole transition. Was it the challenge that made you finally say, yes, was it what was the North Star that made you say, okay, I'm leaving Boeing and I'm gonna take on this task that is just Herculean. I mean, just heavy lift.
It really goes back to service. And
okay, that answers it. Yeah,
it was just such an important company. 115 years of safe and efficient transportation and opening the highways to all mankind and all the jobs and the careers that it provided everybody throughout the United States. When Henry decided that the vehicles are not going to be just for the wealthy, but it was going to be available, the best cars and trucks in the world are going to be made available to everybody, so they could feel the freedom of being able to move around and grow. And so it's a tremendous part of the economic development of the United States. And between Boeing and Ford, as we talked about, it's the reason that we're free as a country because of the technology and the innovation. And so at the end of the day, I really felt like I was being asked to serve a second American and global icon that's important for so many of us around the world.
Wow. Well, you've done that, and you brought it back. I must say again, if you're just joining us, for those who might have just tuned in, you're listening to Alan Mulally. He is the former CEO. He retired in 2014 and now sits on a number of boards, including Google, which is just phenomenal. And he is now sharing his message with organizations around the country. And I'm so grateful that he has found a moment in his schedule to just come and share with us. I'm very grateful. And I for those who don't know, my book, An Attitude of Excellence, in the beginning, I have a picture of Al and I in his office where it's such a great picture. We're having such a fun time that day. He is inspiring me. I'm just in hog heaven because he's teaching me, even though he's just talking about the Ford history, how Henry Ford looked over the landscape, and the magazine cover. What was that, the 1925, Alan, or?
January 24th, 1925, in the Saturday Evening Post, which was the #1 magazine in the world. And at that point, Henry described that he wasn't going to just make cars for the wealthy, but he was going to make cars so all of us could afford them and feel the freedom of being able to move around the world.
And you were so gracious and so kind, and we had such a great time. We took a picture. The picture's in the book, front of the book, and I also tell some of the other lessons I learned, because once I left that day, I became a student of Alan Mulally. So I was reading everything I could read that was in the press about him. I was working, 'cause, we're still doing work with Ford, and so, but I was learning about him. I was asking people, what drives this guy? And they'd always say the same thing: service, and his working together philosophy. Okay, so look, let's go through these principles, and you kind of expand on them as I call them out. Number one. Have a clear, compelling vision that informs everything you do.
Willie, absolutely. Like every airplane program is a point-to-point, nonstop around the world. It's going to do the polar routes. It's going to be short range, fuel economy, CO2 reduction. Same way in cars. Small cars, medium-sized cars, utilities, and trucks. The performance of it, the fuel efficiency. What is the vision for every one of those products? And then what's the vision of the company? And then what's the comprehensive strategy for delivering it? And then the relentless implementation plan, which is the business plan review every week where we all get together. And that's the foundation, as you point out, that drives everything, because we all know, all the participants know what we're about, and that'll inform and direct our contribution.
And let me take a moment, because I wish we could go for hours, but that business plan review is critical, because it is where people come together and this weekly meeting, and they had to tell the truth. And initially, that wasn't working at Ford. Nobody wanted to tell the truth. Everything was hunky dory, even though you expected to lose $17 billion. When you say that on that Willow Creek, that is so funny.
Well, and Willie, I mean, as Bill Ford described to me before I came is that Ford was a separate Fords all around the world. Henry wanted to make cars and trucks all around the world so that everybody could have great jobs and great careers that was associated with Ford. I mean, he was so ahead of his time, but they had become very isolated and very separate and almost completely independent Fords, and we were competing with the best global companies in the world. And so it was really a big deal for them to come together and work together, but they didn't know each other. They didn't trust each other. They didn't have relationships because they're all independent. And so, and also, at that time, Ford, like many companies, you only brought a problem to your supervisor if you had a solution. So now you're managing a secret. And so we had to change that culture.
How do you manage a secret? That is such a great line. Say that one more time.
It was safe, and you could bring the problem, color-coded, I'm red, I'm yellow, or green on this issue, and everybody could then work together to turn the reds to yellows to green. So that was a huge culture change.
Red, yellow, green, and you cannot manage a secret. So if you kept it to yourself, then you would not be able. You might have a red, but you're calling it a green because you're not telling, and yet we all want to get to green because that makes the company more profitable and effective and efficient. And that story you told about the first one who opened, that's such a good story. Just tell a little bit of that, please.
So you're absolutely right. And it's back to our conversation about a safe environment based on respect. If you go after somebody that brings up an issue and humiliate them or keep asking why they don't have a solution, stuff like that, what do you think the color is going to be next week? They'll go back to a green because no one's going to be a victim. So here, that was the environment. People were scared. They didn't want to share what the real situation was. They didn't know what would happen. And so finally, one of our leaders, we were in our business plan review, and they had a problem with the liftgate actuator on a new edge out of Oakville, Canada. And so from a technical point of view, a schedule, a financial, it was all red. And so this leader told his team, we got to trust Alan. I understand the principle, and so we're going to color it red. And one of his team members actually said, Willie, well, good luck. It was nice knowing you. You had a great career. But clearly, you're going to be gone. So the leader the next day in the business plan review presented it, and up comes this red. We had 300 charts total, and here's this bright red. I mean, all the air left the room. And he explained what the situation was. And I said to the team, what can we do to help our leader with this problem right away? And 3 leaders offered suggestions about how they'd seen that before. They'd get the information there. They're going to need some manufacturing engineers to switch the parts out, to get them identified and get them up to Oakville. It took 8 or 9 seconds, and we went on to the next green chart. Next week was the only red chart again. Next week they found a solution that turned to yellow. Next week they incorporated. The vehicle started flowing around the world. And the following week, Willie, all 300 charts looked like a rainbow.
Wow.
Because people decided it was safe and they could share what the real situation was. And from then on, Willie, I knew and they knew that no matter what happened to us, we are going to meet regularly and deal with the reds, the yellows, and greens, and we're going to be okay.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back. We got Alan Mulally. This is Dr. Willie Jolley, and for sure, your best is yet to come.
Life had enough ups and downs.
Hi, this is Dr. Willie Jolley, and people often ask, how did I go from a broke, busted nightclub singer to become a best-selling author and to be voted one of the outstanding 5 speakers in the world by the 175,000 members of Toastmasters International? The answer is that I decided to invest and change my thinking, invest in my mindset, and decided to change my inputs because inputs determine outputs. I heard about a seminar years ago when I was just getting started. I was making about $100 a speech. And I heard this seminar that was creating millionaires, and it cost $10,000, but the guy was getting results. I didn't have that kind of money, but I decided to borrow it because I learned that there's a price for success, the price of college, the price of going to school, the price of education. And there's a price for success, and then there's a cost for not paying the price, the cost of staying the same. And that cost is greater than the price. It's too expensive. And so I went, and it changed my life. And I came back and quickly made $100,000. I heard a similar story from Dr. Dave Martin, how he went to a success rally, heard a speaker who inspired him. He and his friend said, wow, that's changed my life. The speaker had a package of materials to help build wealth. The package cost $1,500. And that was all the money Dr. Dave had to his name. Dr. Dave's friend asked, do you think this stuff is worth it? Dr. Dave thought for a moment. He said, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. But I do know that I'm worth it. I'm worth it. He invested that money in that package and used the materials to grow his thinking. He grew his mindset. He shared how that $1,500 investment has gone on to generate millions in revenues. He's a multimillionaire. And he has homes now in Arizona and Florida. I want to say to you, it's time to invest in you. I want to give you some materials that will help you, grow your mindset, grow your future, grow your finances. Go to wjspeaks.com/billionaire. wjspeaks.com/billionaire to get some materials that will inspire your success and help you find that there's a price for success, but there's a cost for not paying the price. And the cost is always greater than the price. Go to wjspeaks.com/billionaire and get the bag, the box, or any of the materials there and keep growing your wealth. And remember, as a man thinketh, so as he is, and your best is yet to come. Back. For those who have missed this, I want to encourage you to listen to the replay, get it on the podcast, find some way, send an email to us how we can get you access to it, because this is a life-changing interview. We're with Alan Mulally, who turned around Ford when it was on the brink of bankruptcy, helped to become profitable, go on to become the #1 brand in the world, as well as to be able to reject the government bailout, which I want to take a moment to ask, because this is something that always intrigued me, Alan, when I came to work with y'all at Ford, and I came in, you came in September 2006, I believe, correct?
Yes, correct.
And so I got the call the end of September 2006, and they said, we want you to come. We know you wrote the book, A Setback Set Up for a Comeback. One of our execs heard about you or heard you speak. We read your book. I want you to come and work with us. And Ford took every date I had between then and Thanksgiving. I'll never forget, we did every day a different. I didn't know y'all had so many plants and offices and places. I mean, it blew my mind how many places we went in those 6 weeks or so. Anyway, here's what I'm always intrigued with. How did you know to prepare for a economic downturn that was not being expected? What was that's the brilliant part here. I've always been intrigued by that.
Well, of course, the most important thing in business, as we all know, is to continually to look at the external environment. Because if we're going to create value for our customers and our clients, the most important thing is that we know the business environment, the risks, the opportunities, the changes, the technology, the demographics. And so with the situation that we were in at Ford, we had to do 3 or 4 things really as a strategy to save Ford really quickly and decisively. One, we needed to focus on the Ford brand. That's why we divested the other ones, because it was 75% of the business, and it's got such a clear and compelling brand. Also, we needed to right-size the production system to the lower demand because of the recession and the fact that our products were not as good as they used to be. We also then simultaneously had to restructure the business, and we had to invest in all the new cars and trucks that you see today, which are the best in the world, during an economic downturn. And we needed to work together as one team, as one Ford. So we borrowed. To do that, the most important thing is to not run out of money so that we can actually accomplish this transformation. And so we borrowed enough money to restructure the business, but also to simultaneously invest in all these new products. Plus, we could see that fuel prices were going up. Maybe the economy was going to start to slow down. So we borrowed some extra money to be able to handle a recession. And that's how we came up with the $23.5 billion that we borrowed to finance this transformation. And a lot of our competitors thought we wouldn't even be able to pay the loan back payments on it. But we knew that if we focused on this plan and we did it working together, that we'd be able to turn Ford around. And we actually did that during the worst recession we've ever had, while our competitors were completely bankrupt.
Right.
And now we've repaid all of that money, of course, and we're profitably growing and with one of the finest lineups in the business.
Wow. Okay, folks, so you heard the real story and how he was able to forecast and be thinking about, it's like the ant. Ant prepares for the winter in the summer, and he's always preparing. And so he got a plan, he got a vision, he knows it's coming. Something's going to come around the corner, so prepare for it. Well, have a clear, compelling vision, number one. Number two is have a plan, keep it simple, and stick to it, which he's talked about, his business review plan. And then I thought it was most interesting, you say be willing to be focused of thinking about the better plan. How do you take the simple plan and continuously make it better, which is kind of like the Kaizen principle, the Kanai principle.
I think, Willie, it's absolutely the same as continuous improvement and lifelong learning.
Yes.
Probably the two most important things, because we're never done, and we always can do it better, including ourselves as leaders and participants and supporters. And so part of the principles and practices, we're always be working on a better plan. If you think of a business going forward, the purpose of business is to create value.
Yes.
You do it in two ways. One, you make products and services that people want and they value, they actually pay for it. And two, we improve our quality and our efficiency, our productivity every year forever. And the revenue times the margins equals profits. And then we'll grow the business and then be able to actually serve more of the customers and our clients because we are growing. And then you think about it from a personal point of view, we're always moving from I to we, and we're always moving from me to service. You think of where we are as human beings, especially based on humility, love, and service. We're always thinking about how we contribute, but the more we think about how we can contribute to the vision, and the more we think about moving from it's about me to it's about me delivering on service, then we're going to always have this continuous improvement, lifelong learning, better plan, better contribution attitude.
Right. Now, these are such great principles. I wish I had time to go into each one, but I'll just kind of say them for everybody. Then y'all can go and look them up online because he talked about work on a better plan, work together. He's talked about that. Include everybody. He's mentioned that. Bigger is not necessarily better. The data will set you free. I've always thought that was so profound, and I've got it now. That one is preaching to me. That makes me say, preach, preacher. All right, when you say that one, that makes me say, preach, preacher. I've got to work on my data more effectively and be honest that I've got to look at the data, not just my gut, but look at the data. What does the data say? Exactly.
And it allows you to make these great decisions collectively, because it's not just trying to convince somebody based on your opinion about it, but what does the data really say about our business? Where are we on the products? Where we are on the market share? Where we are on our cost structure? Because this is a business, and we want it to be successful because we're going to grow by creating value. The same data on our employee survey. How do we all feel? How do the employees feel about working at our company? And that's really important. And we all know the data that 30% are engaged, 40% are happy with what they're doing. But that means that 60 to 80% of all the employees are not coming to work to build a cathedral. They're coming to work for a salary.
Right.
And so I would propose that the biggest source of competitive advantage for all of us in business to create value for everybody is to engage all of our employees where they know the plan, they know the status, they know the areas need special attention, they're turning the reds, yellows, and greens, and they're respected for their work, and they're feeling that true satisfaction that can only come from meaningful accomplishment.
Engagement. I love that, what you talk about that, and how you got people engaged at Ford. They went from just coming for a check and paying their bills to being excited about what they were doing. Well, we only got a couple more minutes left in this interview. I always do every interview, though. I ask a question, and I want to ask you as well. You're sitting in a room with college students. They are interested in being entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs or working at a business. What are a few principles that these are core, gotta have to be successful in life?
Wow. Well, I really believe in talented people working together for the greater good. So I think maybe the first principle is that whatever skill that you love, that you're learning in college, whether it's engineering, manufacturing, procurement, communications, that's your start. And you want to be absolutely the best you could be at that. So again, this lifelong learning, continuous improvement, continue to figure out how to make the best contribution you can make in the skill that you are starting out with. And then the second is that it's all about talented people working together with multiple skills. So developing your working together skills. Where are you on your own self-assessment on humility and love and service and being part of something bigger than yourself and your effect on others and being aware of your effect and looking in people's eyes. Do they want you to be around? Do they want your help? Because this working together, in addition to your professional skills, are what's going to enable you to make the biggest contribution to the greater good. And as my mom said, where we started out, Willie, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
That says it all. What a great interview. You are the best. And when you finish this book, you got to come back so we can tell everybody about it and they can come and go buy it. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to one of the greatest leaders on the planet in history, my friend Alan Mulally. Thank you, Alan, for being my guest.
Willie, thank you very much. And thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Well, folks, stay tuned for next week. We got another show coming your way. Go to williejolly.com. Get some of the free gifts that we have there, williejolly.com/free. Go to jollymarriage.com. Get the free chapter from the marriage book. And if you love faith-based messages, go to jollygoodnews.org. You can get my faith-based messages from the Hour of Power and other places like that. And remember, as I say every week to you, without a question in my mind, your best is yet to come. Have a great day. God bless you.
Are you tired of crying and complaining? Tired of feeling like life don't treat you fair? Do you see so many others moving on while you're steady going nowhere? Have you maybe come to the conclusion that there's nothing at all that you can do? Well, just looking in a mirror and you'll see who is really truly stopping you. My mind. It's up to every one of us to take charge of our life and to make it what we want. If you think that it takes too much time, think again, 'cause I'm telling you it don't. The fact is, it only takes a minute to make up your mind, and now is your time to make your run. It only takes a minute, 60 seconds to begin to decide to win. Just get it on. Just get it on.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.